right, guys, round number 3 comes to us from James Laporta over at Newsweek. A savage fusillade of gun... Is that how you say it? Fusillade? Anyways, it was savage. Of gunfire erupted early Wednesday morning and continued into the late afternoon between Taliban militants and U.S. Afghan forces near Bagram Airfield, the largest American base in Afghanistan. In a powerful suicide bombing aimed at a medical facility under construction in an attempt to breach Bagram Airfield, 2 Afghan civilians were killed and more than 70 civilians were wounded during the attack claimed by Taliban yesterday afternoon. The firefight that ensued lasted more than 9 hours. There were no casualties among the American or coalition forces as the gun battle continued into Wednesday afternoon. Some service members were evaluated for minor injuries as a result of the attack, but nothing major reported. The Georgian Defense Ministry said that 5 Georgian service members also sustained injuries as well. In an earlier press release, Resolute support officials said armed fighters stood their ground inside the medical facility, but that the situation is isolated to the clinic building and Bagram Airfield is not in danger, and the defensive perimeter was not breached or compromised. And so one of the big things about this, the firefight that ensued, if you look at the videos and everything that came out from this, they're like right in the middle. It's a little bit north of Kabul, the biggest city in Afghanistan, and it's a pretty heavily populated area that is around this enormous base, which is the size of a small city on its own. And they ended up, this medical facility was very close to right outside the border of the base. And they dropped, it looked like from the videos that I saw, it looked like U.S. Aircraft dropped 2 enormous bombs on this. And the photos that I saw afterwards, it's completely, absolutely destroyed. And I don't know, this story, I think coming after, again, I'm rambling about the Afghanistan papers, but coming right after it came out, right after there's talk of starting peace talks with the Taliban again. Did we start them again? I thought like a day or 2 before.
I think they said that they were going to, and then the Taliban issued a statement, and they're like, we don't know what he's talking about.
Okay, yeah. And here's proof that we don't know what he's talking about because we're doing this dumb shit again. But
I also think in this story, this does not necessarily have to do with it, but I've experienced this as well because my Twitter account name is Uncle Chaps, and then occasionally I'll talk about something serious and go on like a serious thread. Yeah. I think that's what happened with our guy Red Intel Panda. Like, so this dude, Red Intel Panda, there's a red panda in his avatar, and he's breaking news about what's happening in Afghanistan. Like, the juxtaposition of that is strange.
It's an interesting thing, yeah. So this tweet says, a source near Bagram Air Base, Afghanistan, sent me these photos of the medical center that was attacked and overtaken by the Taliban. Army Times reported that U.S. airstrikes took out the medical center with fighters still inside. And that's the video that I believe it's soldiers who took the video, and you can hear them. They're out on like the patio, like I'm calling it a patio, but they're like either on a roof or on some ledge. You can hear the really intense firefight going in the background. And then they're like, here it comes. And all this shit is going off. You can clearly hear this battle, and they're like, here we go, motherfuckers. Yep. Oh, shit.
You start hearing the whistle.
Yeah. They're
That's right there. Fuck yeah, banging it out.
like, yes, bitches. And so you can hear how excited they're just watching it like they're watching a movie or a play. It's almost kind of surreal.
And it's weird talking about like how cool that is in person, but it's crazy. Like, you can remember exactly what it was like when helicopters used to come. There was, I forget what helicopter, it was an army unit that used to come whenever we would ask for close air support, and they would come in and they'd be like, all right, they're going to have Hellfires coming. And you would be like, oh, bitch, here we go. And then as soon as it started off, you're like, everybody's like, yeah.
Everybody got such a boner when that stuff would happen for sure.
Or an AT gun run would go by. And
yep. But yeah, that kind of stuff as you're watching, especially because on Bagram, like, you don't expect that's such a huge base, and it's not in necessarily a really kinetic area or anything like that. But it's a good reminder that wherever you are, whatever size fob or base or whatever you're on, to, you know, head on a swivel, as they say. It reminded me of when I was on Camp Leatherneck on my second deployment, and you get really I think you get really complacent. That one was in the middle of the desert. You could see from all sides around who was coming, who was going, because it was in the middle of nowhere. But it was a massive base. And we took a tour of the border. I was physical security there. And I was like, excuse me, these outposts, they would have big outposts, almost like picture the Great Wall, where, remember in like Mulan, where they'd be like every mile or so would be an outpost. Are those just silhouettes? They had just, instead of people in the outposts, just silhouettes, like rubber silhouettes dangling.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, if you're if you're far away, you can't tell the difference.
Well, they did that, and as they were withdrawing troops from Afghanistan at the time, and so they didn't have enough personnel to do it. So then instead they put up this giant, like $13 million blimp that had cameras all over it, and they were like, "This'll do it. Like that'll be our watch."
Down?
Well, they did. They put up a bunch of blimps. It didn't get shot down, but like literally, I think a month after I left is when the Taliban stormed a section of the wall, got in.
That was money well spent.
They killed 2 Marines. Jeez. And they destroyed several helicopters. They did some serious damage when they got onto the base. So it's even these huge places you think, well, they won't go for this. It's like too much. But again, I'm like, Afghanistan papers. Just this is how they would spin it. Oh, they're doing these suicide attacks because they're feeling squeezed is the spin that I believe would be put on it. If we're going by the playbook now. But just clearly a reminder that, 70 Afghans injured in this is no small beans, and that things are still popping off. So, I don't know. I just thought it was important to bring
no
that
doubt,
up.
especially in light of what we talked about on Tuesday episodes. Even though we like to kind of ignore it and don't really pay attention to it a lot, or the normal public doesn't pay attention to it a lot, people are still fighting.
Yes.
Every day.
I don't think we ignore it so much as how much more can we say about it at this point? You know, we've all expressed our feelings in great detail.
Oh, I think we ignore it. We saw a post the other day, from a young Marine that was like, "We're on the brink of war." Like,
yeah, buddy, we're at war. I hate to break it to you.
The royal we, the collective we. I'm saying us three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to round 4.